It's Wednesday, October the 30th. Before I get into the fishing, I want to let everybody know that's in town for the Anglers in Action Championship this weekend that Extreme Outdoors is doing a pretty neat deal tomorrow night from 5:30 to 8:30. They got a bunch of discounted product in there, Spro, Missile, AFCO, Sunline, and with the looks of the weather, if you don't have good rain gear with you, you might want to look at some of that AFCO equipment. But there'll also be some people there with Pro Guide batteries if you got any questions on their new chargers and lithiums. So that's at Extreme Outdoors, 5:30 to 8:30 tomorrow night. As far as the lake level, right now it's like 911.5, which is about 3.5 foot below normal winter pool. And you know, when I put in this morning, the water temperature was almost 68 degrees. And I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like I've been at Lake of the Ozarks last weekend, the weekend before that, it was Bull Shoals. But this fall, it just seemed like it's been extremely tough fishing. But I guess really think about it, and fall hasn't even got here, other than the leaves are falling off the trees. You know, we had record highs the other day, 86 degrees. It looks like we got some cooler weather finally coming in. But, you know, the fishing's kind of all over the place. It's not real consistent. It's hard to get, you know, a steady bite going on. And with the wind that we had today and yesterday, you know, I went out to try and catch them on a spinnerbait. I thought if I covered enough cedar trees, kind of like what we throw at with a jerkbait in the springtime, you know, main lake points, secondary points, and just cover a lot of wind-blown banks, I could catch them on a spinnerbait. And I was in the mid-river yesterday, and I was in the, from Kimbling City to the dam today. And, you know, the water clarity up in the rivers, like, it is super clear all the way up to about Cape Fair, and you start getting a little stain. I don't know about the other rivers. I haven't been up them, but with no more rain than what we've had, it's been dry as a bone. It's going to be pretty clear. Now, again, that weather coming in may change some things. But normally this time of year, if things were normal and water temperature was cooler, especially with the way the wind blew, you could run a spinnerbait, topwater baits, especially with the cloud cover today. And I did manage to, you know, catch a few fish on a War Eagle, Screaming Eagle. But goodness, I don't know how many casts I made at cedar trees and different rock. And it was the same way with the Spro crankbait for me. If I kept casting it, eventually I would get a bite. The problem was whenever I'd get a bite off whatever type of rock it was, trying to repeat it. You know, and I think that's kind of been the problem the last 2 or 3 weeks. The only thing that seems to be consistent is the drop shot bite. And it was a little hard to get out in the middle of the lake, you know, today for me, but it seems like on the bluff ends, there's a pretty consistent drop shot bite. I've been using a lot of, kind of plum worms like Morning Dawn, Missiles, John's Juice, Morning Dawn Color, a Chomper's Plum will work. But them fish seem like they're anywhere from 25 feet to as deep as 50. Some of them are out over deeper trees. Now, I'm sure the guys that are fishing out in the middle of nowhere, out around the shad, will have them figured out this weekend, you know, live scoping. I mean, all the power to them. They've got it figured out. And that seems to be about the most consistent deal in the tournaments the last few weeks is, you know, fish out in the middle of nowhere just roaming with shad. But, you know, other than that, I found a really shallow bite, say 8 to 10 foot or less, or 30 feet to 55 foot. I'm really struggling trying to get any kind of a bottom bite in that 15 to 25 foot range or anything consistent. Now, granted, the last 2 days with, you know, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, it's hard to get out on a lot of the main lake, you know, flat points and fish a jig. And I also think you can get bit on you know, finesse style baits like a little Ned rig or a split shot, especially smallmouth, you know, on them flat or gravelly, you know, points. Now, you know, I think it's going to be a tough deal this weekend, a tough tournament, but, you know, I've never fished a tournament where somebody doesn't win. So regardless what the conditions are, somebody's going to figure them out. But as far as for, you know, if you're recreation fishing, I think the drop shot is by far the most consistent. You know, and I did not find a lot of bait in a lot of the creeks and arms. And like I say, I fished from Cape Fair up to the dam the last couple of days. Covered a lot of water. Now I just got to figure out where I want to fish and, you know, try and settle down in one area. There's a little bit of a topwater bite. Like today I threw a Chopo a lot, mainly because the water was so rough, especially early. Now if the water slicks off, you know, it gets smooth, I like to throw it's a Spro. It's a little bit same style of bait, but a little smaller profile. But what happens when it gets real rough is, you know, I don't think the fish can see this little bait. That's why I'll go to the mid-sized Chopo, Whopper Plopper, from the mid-size to the big one. And, you know, I pretty much just keep it white or black. And, you know, the same with the buzzbait. Buzzbait can be effective, but a lot of times if you get too much chop, that's where I think the, you know, the Chopo, I keep wanting to call it El Chopo, but the Chopo will work a little bit better than a buzzbait. But, you know, there are some dockfish, you know, but I just got to flip a ton of docks to get a few bites. But when I do get a bite, it's a little bit better quality. Some of them are in the backs of the creek, some of them are inside of the main lake. There's just, anything that I've found is, there's no pattern. If you'll notice, I got rods out all over the place. I'm just kind of junk fishing. If something looks good, I might pick up a crankbait, I'll pick up the jig, you know, whatever the piece of structure or dock that I'm fishing. And even, you know, don't be afraid to throw a spoon around some of these deep docks at 35 to 45 feet. You know, there's still a lot of fish still in the summertime pattern, but they're not out there real thick. I think a lot of them are just scattered, and where a lot of the bait's out in the middle of the lake, I think there's a lot of fish out there roaming with them. So I think if a guy's good with his forward-facing sonar and got the patience, you can chase that bait around out there and catch some fish as well. So I want to wish everybody, you know, good luck and anglers in action this weekend. And until next week, good luck, good fishing.